Okay, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Cracking the Code with Robert G. Allen. Robert, you have done so many amazing deals throughout your entire life that I think people are dying to know how to evaluate if a deal is good or not.
Yeah, all this looking, and you're going to find some things that look like sparkly gold. It's fool's gold, and so you have to say, what's the difference between real gold and fool's gold?
Yes.
Real gold is evaluated by asking 5 simple questions. Now, most people will tell you what's the most important aspect or thing that you're looking at when you're trying to find a good deal, and they'll tell you location, location, location.
Yeah.
That is really, really, really important. And yes, that is important. But if I don't have the other 4 things that go with it, then I don't know if it's a really true good deal.
Okay, so there's like 5 areas we need to watch out for.
Exactly, 5 areas that I have to analyze. Now, most people don't take these, it's all back to common sense. The first question is, well, what's its price?
Yep.
Now, when I'm talking to a seller, I'm going to ask, what is it worth?
Okay.
And then I'll ask, and what's your price?
Okay.
There's just the little
minor nuance
there, but you're asking, what's it worth? They probably never thought of it that way before. They've got, well, the realtor told me that I should list it at XYZ price. And so what is it worth? How did you determine that? Somebody sold in the neighborhood that's similar to that. It kind of makes things realistic. It lets them realize that you're not going to be, just paying whatever price they throw out there.
Yeah.
So what's it worth? And then what is your price?
Yes.
Is the first question you're going to ask. And the price, you're going to want to buy something that's below the market,
Sure.
However, it's not necessary
Okay.
to have below the market. You have to have something wholesale. So what are the other areas that might have some flexibility? Maybe their price is not flexible. That's it. That was the price. I told my wife that was what we're going to sell it for. I won't take a penny less than that. Sometimes they're really that stubborn.
Yeah.
So let's look at the other areas. First of all, then, let's talk about the condition of the property. So most people don't even ask that question, like, what's it going to cost to fix this thing up?
Yeah.
Let's have somebody look at it and try to determine what kind of condition it really is in. Is it going to take major or minor? Is it going to take major? That's pretty expensive. More than likely, the more major the renovation, the lower your profit's going to be.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of hidden costs. They're going to show up at the very end that'll just, but minor cosmetic improvements, yeah. So I'm trying to determine its condition. And frankly, if a condition is bad, I'm going to give it a lower score. It's good, but I'm going to give it a lower score. So I need to know its location. So where is it located? Is it located next to good things, shopping, entertainment, some kind of a work environment? So what's its location? What's its price? What's its condition? What about the terms? What about the financing? In real estate, we know that we can borrow 75% of the value of that property, sometimes more. If we're going to live in it ourselves, we can get 80, 90%, 95%, 100% if you're a veteran.
Yeah.
So we know we can borrow the larger amount, but what about the down payment? What kind of down payment is going to be required? If I have to get a bank loan, I know that I have to fit into their parameters because they're traditional. If I want to borrow banks' money, I got to have whatever down payment they require. And that's harder to do. If, however, the seller will partially be the bank, for instance, the seller might say, for example, 20% of the properties that are in our country, in fact, in most countries, are free and clear. They have no mortgages on them.
Oh, wow.
Owned by sellers who want to sell. And they would like it if you got a bank loan and went through the hard way of financing it. But maybe they could be the bank. What would happen if they decided to lend you and be the mortgage holder? See, most people never even think of that because it's so untraditional that a seller would carry some financing. But that's why we like to find highly motivated sellers, because they're willing to do flexible things like that. So you could say to the seller, where are you going to put that money? I know this is none of my business. Forgive me if I'm being too forward here. But where do you think you're going to put that money? Are you going to put it at the bank at 1/4 of 1%?
Yeah.
Well, wow. You have, let's say, $1 million at 1/4 of 1%. That's like $2,500 for an entire year.
That's crazy.
It's like, it's nothing. I said, well, if you'll be the bank, I'll pay you 5%. So you'll get $50,000 a year instead of $2,500 a year.
Yeah.
I will pay you 20 times more money. Now, they might love that. They might say, where else are they going to put the money? What government bond will they have to put into? What corporate bond? Whatever. A lot of times they just don't know. So what I'm trying to say is, I need to know how flexible that seller is when it comes to the financing. Might they be willing to help with the down payment? That's the 20% or
right.
that, so, or even help with the 80%. Maybe they could win by both of those things, by helping us with both of those places. If I'm dealing with the bank, they won't help at all.
Yeah.
No, they're saying, nope, we have rules, that's the way it works. So when I'm finding out from the seller what are his possible areas where he could win that are out of traditional ways of doing it, besides just cash.
Yeah.
If the seller might be open to that, a little more flexible to that, then I'm going to give it a higher score. Okay. And finally, the final question is, why is the seller selling? What motivates them to sell?
Okay.
If it's like, oh, I thought I would just sell and get my money, put it in the bank, and just go on a vacation for a while, then the motivation is really, really low. If the motivation is, I am moving to another state, I got to sell this property because I got to buy something else there, and now we started into increasing the scale from 0, which is I just want my price, I want my terms, to 10, which is I'm desperate. I will give you money to take this property off my hands. You see the difference between that scale?
Oh, yeah.
Most of the time, it's a lower part. It's like, pay me my price, pay me my terms, go to a bank, qualify for a loan, take me out, I want to be gone. Those are below 5.
Yeah.
5 or lower. It's lower motivation. Higher motivation is, I'm going through a divorce, I'm sick, I need to get the money for my health. My wife just died, we need to sell the property. I have a bad deal I did on another investment, so I need to sell and take a bath on this one so I could go buy myself out of that bad deal. There are all kinds of reasons why people sell. And if you can find out that reason, the flexibility, if you can discover that, then if it's a low probability, low desperation, then you're going to give it a lower score.
Yeah.
So here's how we use these 5 questions. I'm going to give you a system,
Okay.
5 steps. These 5 questions are going to form a grid.
Okay.
Now, in another YouTube broadcast, I go into depth and actually show you the chart. Here, we're just talking on this podcast. So I've told you the 5 areas. What were they again? Location, price, condition, financing, and flexibility. I need to know those 5 areas. I'm going to give a score to every one of those areas. The reason I don't need to show you the chart or the graph, it's nice and fun and sexy to show you this visual thing that you can get a copy of.
Yeah.
But technically, these 5 steps, these 5 simple questions, you can do it on the back of a napkin. I do. You just process it really quickly.
Yeah.
Question, when it comes to location, on a scale of 1 to 3, with 1 is a terrible location, and 3 is a fantastic location, and 2 is a pretty good location. Yeah. In other words, without doing lots of fancy thinking about it, just say, yeah, that's a terrible location. Ask the realtor on a scale of 1 to 3, how is this location? It's not good. Yeah. Okay, good, give it a 1. In other words, I don't want you to be buying in 1 neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Can you make money in there? Oh, yeah, you can. When you got 10,000 hours in, yeah, go do that all day long.
Okay.
But when you're starting off at the beginning and your investment of time, remember getting to 10,000 is mastery, and you're in the 500-hour range or the 1,000-hour range, you don't want to be touching anything in a bad location.
Yeah.
Yes, bad things can happen. And so don't go there. So I'm going to give it a 0, actually.
Okay.
2 would mean that's okay. Maybe it's on the neighborhood of a great location and it's gentrifying and moving into great. So I give it a 2. 3 is, great location, great shopping, great churching, all kinds of good stuff, great employment, perfect place. Give it a 3. Now, this is just rough.
Sure.
But you can quickly, 1, 2, or 3. Price. If it's on the market or above, I'm going to give it a 1.
Okay.
That means that's retail. I don't want to pay retail. I can pay retail if there's other things that the seller will give up.
Yeah. Other benefits.
So I'll give him price if he gives me terms.
Sure.
So I'd like both. I want price and terms, but I have to at least have one.
Yeah.
So he says the price is retail or higher. These days, people are bidding prices up. Mm-hmm. That's the indication we're in the wrong time to buy retail.
Right.
When they're bidding the prices up, wrong time. I want to buy wholesale no matter what. So if it's a 1, I give it a 1. 2 means it's like maybe 5% below the market. 3 is 10, 15, 20% below the market. So you're going to ask the seller, what's it worth? And the seller says it's worth 100. You go, and what's your price? And he goes, 105. That's a 1. He goes, well, it's 95. I want to give the buyer a good deal. Oh, that's a 2. He says, I need to get rid of this. It's 80. I'm talking about percentages here.
Sure.
80% value. Then that's a 3, So now I've given those 2 things a score. The third thing is the condition of the property. If it's seriously messed up, you don't want to.
Needs a big rehab.
Yeah, it needs a big rehab. I'm sorry. It's a 3. If it add new floors, new roof, sorry, I'm out.
Yeah.
Or at least I'm going to give it a 1. 2 means cosmetic. Just a few thou. And man, it dramatically improves its looks cosmetically. And then number 3 is, hey, it's move-inable. It's fixed up already. It's painted. It's carpeted. New sinks, new toilets. Just move in. Great. I'm going to give that a 3.
Okay.
Okay. Now what about the financing? I kind of gave you a hint. 1 would be traditional, conventional financing. If the seller wants me to go to a bank, I'm going to give it a 1. The seller might be willing to carry a little or give you a little bit flexible. I'm going to give it a 2. If the seller is like, I need out of this thing, take me out.
Yeah.
Somehow I got to get out. That's a 3. In other words, what is the financing? And financing and flexibility are kind of related. But financing means, what is it probably going to be?
Sure.
Will it probably be some combination of bank financing and seller financing? That's a 2. Will it be all bank financing? That's a 1. Will it be primarily seller financing? That gives you a score.
Awesome.
Now let's get to the final question. What's the reason that they're selling?
Yeah.
And a lot of times they won't tell you. That's none of your business.
Yeah.
But if you are harvesting, if you are giving, if you're helping, if you're trying to be on their side of the table, trying to help them in your attitude, then they'll open up to you because they trust you. And that's the most important principle about negotiation is trust. And if they don't trust you, they want their price and their terms. They don't care about you. Give me cash. I don't trust you, right?
Yeah.
If they trust you, they'll be willing to do creative, unorthodox, unconventional financing because they kind of like you. Maybe you're just a young couple getting started.
Yeah.
And they're going, I remember what I was like when I was with you. And I wish someone had given me a leg up or a hand up. And I'll be that person for you.
Yeah.
And good. And therefore, we know their motivation. They're trying to help you, and because you're trustable, you're trustworthy. If their flexibility is serious, then they're more flexible they are.
Yeah.
The time frame gets shorter. They want to close more quickly. They will willing to take less price. They're willing to take better terms the more desperate they are. That's why I love to start there. But I may find a seller who is not flexible
Yeah.
on their price. They are inflexible on their price. And they might be inflexible on their terms. They might be willing to help you a little bit, and maybe they'll give you a little bit of discount, but really, not really much. Why would you still go ahead? Well, you have to do the score.
Yeah.
So let's do the score. Let's add it up.
Okay.
Okay, location, 1, 2, or 3. I'm going to pick in my mind a property that's in an okay neighborhood. It's
Okay.
not great, so I'm going to give it a 2.
Okay.
Price, it's an okay price. It's kind of a little bit like 5% below the market. What price would you give that?
Probably go 2.
I give it a 2.
Yeah.
So I have 2 plus 2 is 4. Okay, now I'm going to go to the condition of the property. It's pretty good.
Okay.
It's pretty good. It might take 1,000 or 2. What score would that be?
I might go with 3 if it's only 1,000. Or is that too high? Do I need a 2?
Yeah, it's 2 or 3. It's
Okay.
between 2 or 3. And so if I'm going to not sure whether it's 2 or 3, I'm going to go with a lower number because I
Okay.
want to be conservative. Okay, I'm going to give that a 2. Seems like it's a okay deal, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what about the financing? The seller agreed with your proposition that it would be much better for him to carry financing, get him a much, much higher rate of return, a lot less hassle, doesn't have to involve a real estate agent and pay a whole chunk, 6% to a real estate agent right off the top.
Yeah.
Say you're talking to a for sale by owner, and they go, yeah, I'll take your deal. I'll take that, you know. You said it was 5%, I want 5.5. You go, fine. And you say, I want to pay for 30 years? I don't want 30 years. I want you to pay it off in 10.
Yeah.
10. I want to balloon it out in 10. And you go, done? Let's do it. What's that score?
It's got to be a 3.
That's a 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so we've had 2 plus 2 plus 2. That's 6.
Yep.
Plus
3
3
is 9.
and 9. What's the flexibility? Does this seller have a reason to need to sell? Now, in this case, let's just come up with an example. He's liquidating all his assets to be able to form up his legacy for his children. He's in his 80s, and it's just time to liquidate everything and take the money out. It's not a desperate reason, but it's not. It's kind of in the middle there. It's not. I give it a 2.
Okay.
Okay, let's add it up. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus
6,
3 plus 2.
9,
That's
and 11.
an 11. 11 is the cusp.
Okay.
If it scores less than 11, 10 or less, you will not look at it.
Okay.
If it scores an 11, that's interesting. Then you're going to make an offer based upon how you win.
Okay.
Do I win on price, or do I win on terms, or do I win on both, or do I win on neither?
Yeah.
None, right? So you'll now, if it scores on 11, you'll go look at it. You'll go look at it.
Okay.
Because the seller, you've done all this on the telephone.
Okay.
Why would I do that on the telephone? Because you don't have time to drive around looking at all these properties. It's just too much time.
Yeah.
You can literally let your fingers do the walking, as they used to say.
Yeah.
And you literally take a person through the seller through those 5 questions. Now, a realtor might be involved. 90% of the time, a realtor will be involved.
Yeah.
And when you ask these questions, they're going to be leaning towards the retail side of the equation. And so
Sure.
usually it's going to score, 9s and 10s.
Yeah. I mean, they're after their best interest, right?
Yeah. So you're looking for a realtor who understands your scoring system. So you're going to literally teach them, have them watch this podcast.
Yeah.
And you say to your realtor, if you want to be my realtor, watch this podcast.
You got to watch it.
This is it.
That's right.
I need to look at properties that score 11 or higher. I want to go look at the ones that score 11 or higher because I want to see if the seller was telling the truth.
Right.
Is the price really what the seller said it was? When I do some little checking and knocking on doors, seeing for sale signs in the neighborhood, doing some brief appraisals with the realtor, if you're using a realtor, I can tell really quickly whether this is retail or whether it's wholesale. And if it's retail, I'm going to give it a 1.
Yeah.
And the seller might say it was a 2. I'm sorry, Mr. Seller, you're not telling me the truth.
Right.
Then I'm going to go just down the line. I'm going to go through location. Was the seller telling the truth? Price, is the seller telling the truth? Condition, was the seller, I walk through it? Yeah or no. Look at this.
Yeah.
This whole this floor is all buckled because of the water damage. That means there's water damage from above or
All the
water
way
damage
up.
down below. Oh, this is going to be a major problem. The seller said it was minor. It's going to be major. That's a 1. In other words, you reevaluate your score. When you're all done with looking at it, you might reevaluate. You might say, this was a 10, not an 11.
Yeah.
It might knock you off. You might say, I wouldn't even make an offer on this property.
Interesting.
If I needed to make an offer, it'd have to be X, minus 10, minus 20 of what the seller wants.
Yeah.
And you can say really clearly to the seller, I know this isn't what you want. I want this to be win-win.
Right.
I want this to be a win, like you can walk away and feel like your life is freed up from this hassle. That's a win for you. But you would like to have more money. I get that. But I can't offer you more because I'm an investor and that's how I win. I got to get either price or terms.
Yeah.
And you said you wanted the terms, which is the cash there. I got to have the price. And now I notice all these problems in the condition. It means I got to offer you lower. Don't be offended when I make you this offer. Just keep it. Who knows? Sooner or later, you might rethink my offer and you might come back to me and say, I'll take your offer now.
Yeah.
So don't be offended. Here's my offer.
Here's what it is.
And now we planted a seed. Until we wrote an offer, we didn't plant the seed.
Right.
Therefore, there was no crop. Therefore, what there was reading a book about growing a crop.
Right.
There was no seeds. So offers are seeds.
Yes.
And most people won't go that far because they're afraid to write an offer that offends somebody, or they're afraid to talk to the realtor about it. The fear holds them back in all kinds of ways. The biggest fear to get over is the fear of writing an offer and realizing it's going to be rejected. Yeah. And when our analysis with thousands and thousands of deals from the students that we taught over the years, we realized it's about 1 in 9 gets accepted.
Right out
which
the
means
gate.
you're going to have 8 rejections. But one of those rejections of the 8 that gets rejected immediately is eventually going to turn into a deal. It might take 6 months, a year down the road. So that's why you have to plant the seed, right?
No, I love it. So another particular thing that I'm interested in, right? Because when you're going through, you're trying to plant seeds, you're trying to do all these different things to find the right deal. You have to find the bargains, right? Tell me what a bargain finder is.
A bargain finder is a simple form. It's in one of my books called The Challenge.
Okay.
If you ever watch any of my YouTube channels, more than likely I'll give you that book so you can have a copy of it. A bargain finder is a simple form that puts all the information on one page. I like it that way. That's the way I think. I'm a big picture thinker. So I want to see the entire system on one page. Now, I just taught you without the bargain finder what the 5 steps were, what the scoring system is, what you have to buy. You have to look at properties that are 11 or higher, and then you're going to write an offer that scores after inspection 11 or higher. You're going to write an offer on that one.
I see.
And then off you go. However, sometimes you need a little form to fill out as you're just learning your first few hours of this game. So any one of my books, like I said, The Challenge has a copy of it. Let me just show you what it looks like.
Yeah.
Here are the 5 areas of analysis.
Okay.
And there's the bargain finder. This is the analysis form.
I see.
And that's on page 80 of the original book. And then you skip forward a couple of pages and you get to what I call the bargain finder, which it looks really official and like really, really nice looking. And there it is. There's the bargain finder. That's what it looks like. Okay.
I love it.
Okay, now literally, if you fill every blank in on here, then you know enough to buy that property. Because the scoring system is right along the left-hand side. The location, the price, the condition, the flexibility. All of them are right here. You get the score, the 1, 2, 3 right next to it.
Sure.
And then you have to draw the stick figure that shows you what the mortgages are going to be. So on one page, you have the entire bargain finding system.
Yeah.
But since this is a podcast and all you can do is look at from it, you can look at it from like this.
There it is. There it is.
Literally, after you use that form maybe once or twice, you're going to go, I can do this on the back of a napkin.
Yeah, second nature.
Yeah, and they're for you. This is where people go wrong, and we'll finally end on this concept. We don't ask enough information. We ask the seller some questions, but we don't know how many questions we should ask as a beginner. And these are fundamental questions that you must have the answer to. I would rather you didn't buy than buying a property that you don't get a score on. You have to score it.
Yeah.
You know, that's the step. And most people, when they get on the phone with the seller and they go, okay, what's your price? You know, okay, what are your terms? They don't know what to ask.
Right.
So this is just literally a checklist. And then as you're scoring it, based upon, on the phone, based upon what the seller is saying, you're going to go, okay, location. Immediately, based on what he or she said, that's a 1.
Yeah.
Price. As soon as they finish talking, immediately, that's a 2. Ask condition. As soon as they finish talking, immediately, that was a 3. And then the bottom line, the score is an 11 or more. Can I look at your property, please?
Yeah.
If it scores a 10 or less, you might say, you know, I wish you well. I hope you get the price you want and the terms you want. But I'm an investor and I'm not going to win at that price.
Yeah.
I hope you win. May you help you win. If I can help you with any questions as you get ready to sell, feel free to call me.
Yeah.
You know, and bounce them off me. I'm happy to help. But it's just I can't help you by buying your property because that wouldn't help me.
Yeah.
So feel free to call, plant the seed, you know, nurture that person, and off you go.
So one last thing before we go and call today's episode, put it in the books. So you said there was 5 areas of analysis. Do you have like a bonus 6th area for us?
This one's hard to teach.
Okay.
But you're going to walk through that building and it scores a 15.
Okay.
And you're going to go, something about this property doesn't feel right. 99% of the time, that feeling is correct.
Okay.
It's called the hunch or the intuition, or maybe even inspiration, where the universe is saying, not this one.
Yeah.
And so you go, how does this feel? I know that sounds crazy, but how does this stand in the property? How does it feel?
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel right. And then you have to have the courage to say no to it.
Interesting.
You have to say, walk away and realizing that somebody else will probably profit from that, but it wasn't meant for you. It's okay. Let somebody else have it. They can either have the problems or the profits that come from it, but it didn't feel right to you. And I want you to practice that feeling because there's going to come a time when it'll score a 10 and you go, yeah, this feels like there's some good in here somewhere. It just kind of feels right. And that will, using the card playing languaging, that would trump the 10.
Yeah.
That would make a 10 and an 11.
Yeah.
Or a 12. Sometimes a 13. And so that's a very important final step to the process. And those 5 steps, 6 steps will take you to bargains.
I love it. Hey, you've been listening to Robert G. Allen. Thank you, Robert, for dropping the knowledge on us and helping us crack the code. Until next time, folks, we'll see you soon.